Yeah, so actually this morning we're out with a note on Best Idea Short or Active Short Invitation Homes. Last night, as expected, by the end of June, the plaintiffs in their quitam whistleblower complaint filed a response to the motion to dismiss from the company that was presented to the court, which is now at the federal level. About a month ago, they had a 30-day window with which to reply. As expected, they did. Our position is that we expect the motion to dismiss to be denied, and so the plaintiff, this LLC that was set up to litigate this case, essentially called Blackbird Special Project, made a four-part argument to basically counter the company's motion to have the case dismissed. It was based on several legal concepts, a few of which are over my head, candidly, and I'd love if Paul or JT and had any perspective on it after, if and when they've had a chance to review it, because I'm obviously not a lawyer. But what's interesting is that the plaintiff makes the case that Invitation is misapplying the what's called the PDB, or the public disclosure bar, under the California Fair Claims Act. And without getting too specific, in order to have that that concept apply, it needs to meet a couple of different tests. So the matters that are presented must have been revealed by the news media in a public hearing or a government report. That's kind of the first qualifier. Secondly, the disclosure must have been made available to the public. And third, the disclosure must reveal the same transactions or allegations of fraud alleged in the complaint, i.e., the way I interpret that is the disclosure must kind of self-encapsulate everything that implies the fraud. And what's interesting is the plaintiff counters by saying, first of all, many courts have already rejected the concept that, quote unquote, news media can be implied to the entire internet, which is kind of a ridiculous claim. And further, the permitting data that's contained on the government's websites that we and others have used as a reference point is just that. It's one reference point to the allegation of fraud, but it does not, standing alone, disclose all of the circumstances sufficient to show fraud. And I think that's where, the company's proprietary technology, where it effectively goes back and scrapes web, records essentially for property listings, for property photographs from prior listings to show before and after, both interior and exterior on homes that have material changes made to them, yet no permitting on file, is really kind of mirroring the two concepts is what really evidences the allegations of fraud, as opposed to just an absence of permitting going back to say the mid-90s. Obviously, if there are no permits on file for a home, going back to 1998, and Invitation, which has only been, in existence as a public company since I believe 2015. I think it went public 2015. It's either 14 or 15. But Invitation acquired homes, renovated them. Many of those renovations required permitting for a house that had an exterior wall demolished or an addition put on. That home has no permitting data on file with the local municipality going back to the mid-90s. Obviously, those permits were not pulled. So it's kind of the mirroring of the concepts that really evidences the fraud, not just the absence of permitting itself. So I guess in conclusion, our base case is that the case is not dismissed, and that'll be determined later this summer in the early fall. And we think, and by the way, the plaintiff's attorneys are arguing for this to go straight to discovery. And we think, based upon our work, that discovery could be particularly damaging for Invitation. And if I could, I want to just read one snip from the filing, which really kind of encapsulates the incentive here for why you would not want to, pull permits. Quote, the complaint alleges the defendant engaged in this fraudulent scheme, not only to avoid permit fees, but also, and this is the key, but also to avoid the necessary time taken in permitting. So, quote, as to get the properties into the rental market as quickly as possible, unquote. So the complaint is actually pulling a quote from presumably a witness or a source that really gets to the underlying nature of this, quote, to get the properties into the rental market as quickly as possible, end quote. So again, I'll leave it with that. That's really that issue here. And yeah, I mean, we're staying shorted. I think this is, particularly damaging for the company. And, the market's not pricing in that this case did not get dismissed. And that's all for me.
This has got to be one of the more interesting names that we have on the board. I mean, at Hedgeye being long short ideas. And it really, brings to life an issue that a lot of people, the capital T, capital P in America, get really frustrated with, which is this would, like, my dad's Canadian, but he's got a house in Florida. This kind of thing, if he was listening to the call, would piss him right off, right? Because he's like, because he's a firefighter who built houses and he's by the book, right? And
yep.
The whole concept that a big fish gets to do it without permitting, and he has to bust his ass and put all of his capital at risk to do every single thing right, or he's going to lose, like, quite literally everything he's got. And that's not dissimilar for anyone that's listening to this that is a single builder or whatever, taking risk on their own. It's just wrong, right? It's just wrong.
Hey there, Hedgeye Nation, or if you're not part of Hedgeye Nation, thanks for watching Hedgeye on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to click on the button below there, subscribe to our YouTube page. You can also follow the link in the description to our website to get even more great investing content.